Hey, and welcome to the Deep Resilience Podcast. I'm your host, Melly O'Brien, and in this podcast, along with my weekly newsletter and the Deep Resilience program, we are focusing on one clear goal: translating the best evidence-based tools and the deep wisdom teachings on mental resilience into practical everyday strategies that are accessible to everyone. It is my deep passion to bring you content that breaks down big concepts in ways that make sense to you, but also to make sure I give you tools in each episode that you can immediately use to grow your inner strength and create real positive change in your life and in the world. And hey, if you want to take your inner strength to the next level, be sure to join my newsletter at mellyobrien.com, where you'll receive a whole range of extra benefits, special offers, and bonuses. Let's dive in now to today's episode. Hey everyone, I'm really looking forward to diving into this week's podcast with you. This is the final in a 4-part series called You Are the Calm, which is a series that is part of a larger offering during the month of April, because the world is feeling pretty shaky right now, and so I kind of wanted to up the ante on my various offerings to support us through this time and remind us that no matter what is happening in the world, we are the calm. We are the source of our own inner strength, our own inner peace. No matter what's going on in the world, there are specific tools and practices and also attitudes towards what's happening that can allow us, instead of tipping into overwhelm and divisiveness and stress and apathy and disempowerment, that we can dig deeper, access our higher potentials and our deepest strengths, and really be a locus of sanity, wisdom, calm, clarity, and peace in this world. And I know if you're listening to this podcast or if you're on my newsletter, you're the kind of person that's interested in walking the path to a more peaceful, sane, and loving world. So part of this support system is also that I've been offering drop-in free meditation and breathwork sessions. So if you're interested in that, just make sure to jump on my newsletter, because I'm sharing the links for all of that in my newsletter. The details for that are in the show notes. And I also wanted to just give you a heads up that in a week from now, I am offering a 5-day course called Calm in Crisis, a 5-day journey to unshakable resilience. The early bird still applies for that course. And so if you're listening to this and you've been feeling a little bit shaky with everything that's going on in your life and in the world, and you're looking for a deep mental and emotional reset and also a framework to unlock the strength, calm, and wisdom inside you, I would love you to join us. I'd love to invite you to join us. You can see all the details in the show notes for that. I know the world is feeling pretty shaky right now, but that doesn't mean we have to be. We can rise stronger together, and we can rise stronger with the right skills. Okay, with that said, let's dive in to today's episode. So, you're not imagining it. Life really is feeling harder for so many of us lately. Stress, anxiety, burnout, disconnection, these are no longer buzzwords. They're the daily reality for millions and millions of people around the world. In fact, depression is now the leading cause of disability globally, and more than 1 in 8 people are currently living with a mental health condition. A quarter of Americans say that they're so stressed in daily life that they can't function properly in daily life anymore. And research from the World Health Organization shows that young people today, many young people today, up to 75%, are feeling daily anxiety about the future. So We're facing a global mental health crisis. How do we avoid falling prey to it? First, I want to take a look at what's going on here. We're having a global mental health crisis, but what are the causes and conditions? Because when we can understand some of the causes and conditions, it really helps us to relate wisely to what's happening. And it's really tempting to think that the problem lies with us. You know, if we're stressed, if we're not coping as well as we would like to be, if we're feeling disempowered in the face of all of this or overwhelmed, or we're not productive enough, we're not, resilient enough, well, it's easy to come to that conclusion, right? That we're just not strong enough, we're not productive enough, we're not resilient enough. But what if the truth is deeper than that? What if the real issue isn't that we're not okay in some way, but that the world that we live in has become increasingly out of alignment with what human beings need to thrive? Here's what the research and, for many of us, our own inner knowing is pointing to. And this is not, I'm not trying to say that I have all the answers on this. It's obviously a multifaceted and complex thing, what's going on in the world and inside of each one of us. But here's a few things that we can just point out and include in our understanding of what's happening in the world. The first thing is we're living in a world that keeps us wired but tired. Between the constant notifications, the doom scrolling, the news headlines, the 24/7 social media feed, and just the general pace of the world, and also the economic system, right? Like right now, the reality is for many, many, many people, we have to work harder than ever to make ends meet. And that's just the daily reality. 75% of Gen Z report that their mental health is negatively impacted at the moment by social media use at night, with many of them checking their phones during face-to-face conversations with people after just 2 minutes. So we know that we've never been more connected digitally, but at the same time, we've never been more distracted, overstimulated, and disconnected actually from each other, and therefore lonely, right? Loneliness isn't just a passing feeling, it's also now considered to be a public health issue. In fact, in the US, the Surgeon General recently declared that social disconnection is a national epidemic, with about 50% of Americans reporting significant loneliness. So human beings evolved, give or take about, we started evolving about 300 years ago. Now there's, I don't have, it's not exactly 300,000 years ago, but it's somewhere directionally around 300,000 years ago. That's what the experts tell us. So for 300,000 years, human beings evolved to thrive together in tight-knit tribes and communities with a lot of connection with other human beings, a lot of connection to nature, and a lot of time just to be. What we have now is very different to the way that our system evolved to be adapted to. Nuclear households, remote work, swipe right relationships, that just isn't cutting it for how human beings have been wired. So the reality is that our system just wasn't designed for the world we're living in right now, and it's coming at a big cost to us. The second thing to consider is our culture is selling us a story that is making us sick. We live in a world now that is dominated by capitalism, materialism, consumerism as achievement and status, as kind of like these things are touted to us as the highest values for our life. So we're living in a world that rewards busyness, achievement, status, material success, and image, fame, right? But at what cost? Psychologist Tim Kasser spent decades studying this. what actually does bring human beings happiness, and what are the values, what are the ways of pursuing happiness that work and that fail. His findings: when we chase materialism, status, individualistic success, those things, when we follow those as the path to happiness, our well-being suffers. People who prioritize those kinds of external rewards like money, fame, image, being special, standing out, they report higher levels of anxiety, depression, and dissatisfaction in life. Meanwhile, the things that actually make us feel fulfilled, meaningful relationships, community, purpose, generosity, those are often sidelined or dismissed as just being soft or useless or not interesting. So this is one of the costs with a consumer society, a materialistic society. We're constantly being told to pursue a path that is great for the economy, but not really great for living a meaningful, connected, and rewarding life. Gabor Mate, in his book, The Myth of Normal, describes our current culture as toxic. Not because we have something wrong with us fundamentally, but because the actual culture we're living in has normalized disconnection from nature, disconnection from our bodies, disconnection from each other, disconnection from ourselves and what really truly matters to us, and is touting continuously the kind of values that we spoke about before, the values that Tim Kasser realized make us anxious, depressed, and dissatisfied. So if you're wondering why we're in a global mental health pandemic, as they're calling it now, this is definitely one of the reasons. Another great book, if you want to check this out, I'll put all this in the show notes, these 3 books. Tim Kasser's book, Gabor Mate's book, and another one that's really wonderful to read is a book by Johann Hari. I hope I got his pronunciation there right. I may not have. A book called Lost Connections. It is a beautiful summary of the ways in which our culture and our world is affecting our mental well-being. It's a really, really beautiful read. The third thing I want to offer you to consider is, when we think about why we're falling prey to this global mental health crisis, is, we're out of sync in the world, most of us, with what truly makes us happy and resilient. Many of us don't know what makes us happy and resilient, right? There's a misunderstanding or misconceptions here. So many of us might think that it's going to be success or the beach holiday or the perfect partner that's going to make you happy. But science says, maybe not. Researcher Matt Killingsworth, who is from Harvard, and he did what I believe is the world's largest study on human happiness. And he has a great TED Talk about this, which I'll also put in the show notes, so you can dig into all of this yourself. And what he discovered is that our happiness doesn't depend on what we're doing or what we've got or what we achieve or what we have. It depends on whether we're present in the moment. In his research, he found that most people's minds were wandering about 47% of the time, right? So half your day. And he found that when the mind was wandering, people were significantly less happy. And it didn't matter what their minds were wandering to, right? If it was pleasant thoughts, it was still making them significantly less happy. So in other words, what he found in the largest study on happiness at Harvard University, largest study that's ever been done in the world, that was with all ages, all cultures, different socioeconomic groups, they found that being mindful is the main thing that makes people happy. He also found, by the way, that the more your mind wanders, the more unhappy you'll become. Similarly, Studies show that people who prioritize intrinsic goals, like living according to their values, growing as a person, having close relationships and being altruistic, those people enjoy greater well-being than those chasing status or wealth. So living in alignment with your values and being mindful doesn't just feel good, it also boosts your resilience. So how do we avoid falling prey to the mental health downward spiral that the world is going through right now? Because the world is becoming more and more uncertain, disconnected, and really challenging with every passing day. So what can we do? We've got so many new challenges in the world coming at us, and things just starting to feel more and more shaky every day. So here are 3 small but powerful shifts that can help you to reconnect with the strength, the stability, and the peace inside you, and also with what really matters to you so you can live a more meaningful life. So, number 1, be here now. The good news is, research shows that no matter what is happening in the world, happiness can be found by the way that we meet each moment. Happiness is found not through achievement or through escape or controlling everything. It's found in presence. So my recommendation to try this is to start some kind of simple mindfulness practice. You could use an app or maybe look something up on YouTube. I've also got a bunch of free resources on my website. You could just try them out. But even if you don't want to do a guided audio, even just carving out some time every day for mindful attention can really shift your state. Presence doesn't cost a thing, but it can change everything. The second recommendation I would have is make sure that you stay connected with your values. Forget what your culture is saying. Forget the algorithm. What matters to you? Studies show that people who live in alignment with their values are not only happier, but they're also mentally stronger and more emotionally balanced. So values are your heart's deepest desires for how you want to behave as a human being. Values are things like kindness, honesty, community, adventure, fairness, loyalty, playfulness, and so on. So find a way to uncover what your top values are. You might have 3, 5, or 7 values that you want to write down and be really familiar with and committed to. And then ask yourself on a regular basis, what is one small way I can take actions guided by these values today? That's something you can ask yourself every morning, perhaps. The antidote to feeling lonely or disconnected is not more scrolling, it's more soul. So if you have been feeling a little disconnected, a little lonely, or a little isolated in some way, deliberately spend more quality time with your friends. Put away the phone and really listen. Practice deep listening. Practice being present when you're communicating with the people in your life, because it's not just being with people that matters, it's the quality of connection. So, but there's other things you can do as well. You can start a book club, you can join a local group, you can volunteer, or you can simply ask a partner or a friend one deeper question over dinner tonight. Genuine human connection is one of the most powerful protective factors for mental health, and it's something that we can all foster no matter how busy life gets or how isolated you're feeling right now. You can always take a step towards reconnection. And when we talk about prioritizing real connection, also consider other forms of connection with nature, right? Connection with a sense of community, connection with something that might be a spiritual sense of connection for you. Yeah. Connection is good medicine. So I hope that these tips are really helpful for you, but I think the main thing is just to know that there's nothing wrong with you if you're feeling overwhelmed with the state of the world today. This isn't what our nervous system and our minds and our hearts and our souls were really made for. This is a world that is so beautiful and so special, but also deeply troubled. So keep your wits about you. Trust your own inner authority as the true compass for how to live your life. And just remember that you don't need to hustle your way to happiness or fix yourself to be good enough. So, I know that that's being shoved in your face probably through social media and media in general. But the truth is we're living in a culture that is really devoid of wisdom and that often pulls us away from the very things that make us well and happy: presence, connection, purpose. So if you want to stay sane, wise and strong in an increasingly noisy and chaotic world, you got to go against the grain a little bit. That means being brave enough to slow down in a world that's always speeding up, being present when everyone else is distracted, and living by your values instead of chasing validation. When we choose to step out of the current and return to our own stability, our own inner wisdom, we start moving towards a more fulfilling, meaningful, and beautiful life. No matter how uncertain or unwise or crazy the world outside becomes, we can stay rooted in our own inner steadiness and strength. And that is the key that changes everything. I hope this has been really, really helpful for you. If you want some more support in finding and grounding yourself in that inner stability, I really love you to join us at the Calming Crisis course. All the details are in the show notes. It includes live coaching calls with me, a money-back guarantee, and a lifetime access to everything that's in the course. Wishing you so well in these weird and wonderful times we're living in. Big love. Take care. Stay strong, and I'll see you on the next episode. If you know someone who you think might benefit from listening to this episode, share it with them. Sharing it could really help them to feel better and improve the quality of their life. And if you found this episode helpful, remember to subscribe to this podcast so that you can receive more tips on growing your inner strength and keep practicing along with us every week. And if you'd like some more support in becoming mentally, emotionally, and spiritually stronger, come check out the offerings I have to support you on my website at www.mellyobrien.com. As well as coaching and course options, I also have a bunch of free resources for you, including a free Deep Resilience Care Package, which you can begin to use right away to get some immediate relief from stress and suffering, improve your resilience and mental well-being, and help you navigate whatever you're going through with more wisdom, skill, and confidence. You can find the links for all of that in the show notes. Thanks again for tuning in. Take care and stay strong.